I'm going to be asking this question a lot throughout this video, so get used to it, because it's the question that I can't really answer anymore, which is a big problem. That question is, what does Alicent want? Look, you may have an answer to that question right now, and you may think I'm dumb for even asking that question. Keep that answer in your head throughout this video, and at the end of this video, I'm going to ask this question again, and maybe you don't know anymore, but if you still think you have the answer, then ask yourself, do you like that answer? Because we're going to see how that answer to that question changes throughout the first 2 seasons, and how the change in that answer is where we can see the writing decline of Alicent Hightower. I'm sure you know this, and if you don't, you do deep inside because it's pretty intuitive. What does a character need? A goal, right? So let me ask you the question. For the entire pre-time skip portion of House of the Dragon, what does Alicent want? Nothing. Alicent's introduction into the story is completely as this tool. You've heard this before a lot, probably. Alicent has no real will of her own starting off. She is simply the embodiment of the men around her. So for the first 5 episodes of House of the Dragon, Alicent doesn't have a goal. And because of this, Alicent makes no real decisions that affect the story, which is normally a really bad way to write a character. A character with no goal, a character that doesn't affect the story, nobody's gonna find that interesting. And she wasn't very interesting. Yet. But in this case, it makes sense. She doesn't get to have ambitions. She doesn't have the power to affect this story. Her dad auto-pushes her into seducing Viserys, succeeds, and she gets married to him. Alicent never fights this or supports this because it doesn't really matter. What she wants is irrelevant. She understands her role as a political tool. She or Otto may not even realize that she is that tool. That's simply what she is. It's accepted. That's the patriarchy they exist in. Even after she has Aegon during the royal hunt, when Viserys is pouring out his doubts of choosing Rhaenyra as his heir over Aegon, Alicent supports his decision.
What Rhaenyra was the way out of my abyss of grief and regret. But naming her heir would begin to set things right.
Oh, it did.
I never imagined I would remarry.
She's just trying to be a supportive wife. She knows her role. It's Otto that later needs to push her into pushing the idea of Aegon as the heir. I'm gonna press this again. She has no want, no goal, no ambition, besides maybe wanting to reconcile with Rhaenyra, who pushes her away for a marriage she didn't even want. But this gets boring. At some point, she needs a goal. So what inciting incident brings her a goal and into the story?
Breaches in resolve. Breaches, or rather lapses.
It happened, Your Grace. The sin you allude to. I have committed it. At her instigation, it is true, but that should...
But why? What about this moment mattered so much for the way Alicent developed? Sure, she's angry Rhaenyra lied. Maybe she's mad that her dad got fired for just doing his job. But none of that is specific to Alicent. What about Alicent's character makes this moment so impactful? Look at this from her point of view. Rhaenyra is constantly, loudly, and passionately arguing for freedom and control of her life. Not wanting this life of being trapped in her nightmare of being cooped up in some castle, forced to push out babies. But Alicent is living that nightmare, and is forced to accept it.
How romantic it must be to get imprisoned in a castle and me to squeeze out heirs.
She doesn't fight it. She knows her role. Rhaenyra gets to choose who she marries. Alicent had no choice. Rhaenyra gets to sleep with who she wants with no consequences, including the man that Alicent had a crush on. Alicent doesn't get that choice.
Have every young knight and lord in the 7 kingdoms fawning over you. What misery. It is rare for girls in this realm to get a choice between two suitors, no less two score of them.
Of course, Rhaenyra isn't wrong for wanting freedom in this patriarchal world, but Alicent watching her best friend enjoy freedom she didn't even think were possible for her, because they really aren't possible for her, pisses her off. To put it simply, she is jealous. Rightfully jealous. Like I said, this moment where Alicent finds out Rhaenyra slept with Criston and basically lied about it is her inciting incident. It's the moment that invites her into the conflict. So, does she accept that invite? Time jump. So when we skip ahead, the first 20 minutes of the new era are all dedicated to a whole new Alicent. She's pretty important. So let me ask it again. What does Alicent want? Pause. Think about it. I know you're not actually going to do that. Let's keep going. These 20 minutes and 4 scenes are dedicated to establishing the new character of Alicent in 3 ways. Her goal, her dedication and proactiveness in chasing that goal, and why she has that goal. First, she calls Rhaenyra and the baby up, then talks to Viserys for not the first time about Rhaenyra's bastards, then talks to Criston about the same thing, on her way to then talk to Aegon about, again, Rhaenyra. And here is where she makes her goal crystal clear.
You are the king's firstborn son. And what they know, what everyone in the realm knows, in their blood and in their bones, is that one day you will be our king.
And all of these scenes make it clear how her identity has been wrapped up in this goal. In every scene, she's with a different group, and in every scene, she's pissed about Rhaenyra.
To have one child like that is a mistake. To have 3 is an insult. To the throne, to you. To House Velaryon and the match you battled so hard to make for her, not to mention decency itself. She flaunts the privilege of her inheritance without shame. She expects everyone in the Red Keep to deny the truth our eyes can all plainly see. Rhaenyra will ascend the throne and Jacaerys Targaryen will be her heir.
So we have our goal, and we established that this isn't the old Alicent anymore. She's now an active participant in the story with a strong drive to achieve that goal. But why does she have this goal? Yes, we know she's jealous of Rhaenyra's freedom. She's in this cage put there by the men around her. But this reason doesn't work if Alicent knows that, right? If Alicent's mindset is, my life has been restricted, you have freedom to love and have sex with who you want, I am mad that I don't have that life, I'm gonna get back at you by taking your throne. This wouldn't work. Alicent needs to think what she's doing is right. She needs to justify her goal and her anger to Rhaenyra. So, how does she do that?
I have to believe that in the end, honour and decency will prevail. Me to hew to that, and to each other.
Alicent has told a lie to herself to rectify her complete lack of freedom her entire life when compared to Rhaenyra. Her controlled life, her 30-year age gap marriage to further the power of her house from the influence of her father, her having children out of marital rape, her not being allowed to experience love. All of it is her duty. It's sacrifice. It's not wrong. It's not a cage. No, she has honor for that. She has decency for that. It's justified. So Rhaenyra, her freedom must be harmful. She has no idea what duty is. She could never sacrifice. She's a spoiled brat. She would make a bad queen. Alicent feels the need to justify the controlled life she's lived while her old best friend has had this freedom. Alicent needs to feel like there was some greater purpose to that her cage has a meaning to it. Her whole life couldn't have been a prison for nothing, right? This is how she justifies her anger to Rhaenyra and subsequently her goal of usurping her. So when we get to the knife scene, when Rhaenyra's child takes the eye of hers, when she wants an eye for an eye, and after Viserys tells her he's not going to take vengeance for her, and this matter is over, he decides to address this matter instead.
Alicent, this matter is finished. Do you understand?
And let it be known, anyone whose tongue dares to question the birth of Princess Rhaenyra's sons should have it removed.
Immediately going from not taking vengeance for Alicent to choosing to defend and claim vengeance for his daughter. Again allowing Rhaenyra the freedom that Alicent doesn't have. The anger just completely boils over. She obviously knows and understands that Viserys isn't just going to take the eye of his grandson, and she isn't angry at the kid directly. This is just the boiling point for her anger and jealousy of Rhaenyra. All she really wants is to take something back from Rhaenyra. Again, in her eyes, Rhaenyra gets to do whatever she wants, and her father defends her, while she has to just accept it. Well, no more.
Alicent, stay with the king! Hold your ground!
This being devoid of logic from Alicent is the point. Alicent clings to the lie she tells herself. She justifies the hatred she has for Rhaenyra.
You've gone too far. What have I done but what was expected of me? Forever upholding the kingdom, the family, the law. Will you flout it all to do as you please?
Alicent, let her go!
Where is duty? Where is sacrifice? Is trampled under your pretty foot again.
Release the blade, Alicent.
And now you take my son's eye. And to even that you feel entitled.
But this time, she can't justify this. She's attempting to cut the eye out of a child. In this moment, she does show her true colors, her true motivations. It's not about honor. She's acting out of angry jealousy. And Rhaenyra calls her out on that.
Hiding beneath the cloak of your own righteousness.
But now they see you as you are.
Alicent is now actively participating to usurp Rhaenyra. That's what she wants, and she is fighting for it. She is a big part of the plan to remove her son as heir to Driftmark and put Vaemond, who will owe her a favor in the coming conflict.
The next Lord of the Tides will be deeply in your debt, Your Grace. As will Driftmark, in all its strength.
Alicent's growth, or fall really, is clear. And here is where everything goes wrong.
I raise my cup to you and to your house. You will make a fine queen.
Okay, well, maybe she's just lying.
And Highgarden.
Am I to understand that members of the small council have been planning secretly to install my son without me?
I mean, what? You're trying to tell me that Alicent wasn't part of the plan to usurp Rhaenyra this whole time? That she didn't even know about it? What the hell was this then?
Is that one day you will be our king?
What did she think the whole point of the Driftmark thing was? What was this supposed to imply?
We play an ugly game. And now, for the first time, I see that you have the determination to win it. And I promise you, in time, you and I together will prevail. What that rogue Aemond has done in winning Vhagar to our side.
What did she think needing a dragon on their side was for? What does she think dragons do? What was her goal this whole time then? What did she want? Here's what I think. 2 reasons this happened. In an attempt to keep this a pick what side you want, war is bad, both sides are justified situation, they were scared to turn Alicent into a villain. So in the last minute, they do a complete 180 on her character motivations, throwing in this stupid scene instead to serve that role, where we're now supposed to believe the motivations for one of the most important characters is based off a misunderstanding. instead of the extremely well-developed motivations we've been seeing grow for the entire season. And 2, this show has very heavy and obvious themes about patriarchy and sexism. So that means the men have to be the ones who want war, and the women just want to be friends and be peaceful. No. Alicent slowly becoming resentful of another woman's freedom because of the role she was forced into through this patriarchal society, through the men that surround her, is so much better, and it was on a perfect track. Just because the show is about sexism towards women doesn't mean all the women gotta be the good guys who don't want war, and all the men gotta be the bad guys who want to kill. This sucked. This is bad. The weird thing is we still get scenes like this.
And yet you toil still in service to men. Your father, your husband, your son. You desire not to be free, but to make a window in the wall of your prison.
That show they know what Alicent's character is all about. They understand the motivations they've been building. But they ruin it in a need to keep Alicent and the Greens equal to Rhaenyra and the Blacks. Two sides of the same coin. They aren't. Please stop trying. It's never going to happen. Entering season 2, Alicent is having sex with Criston. And that is about it. And it does work. Free from her marriage finally, she can't help but run from her cage. Everyone's calling her hypocrite, and yeah, that's the point. Her whole life she justified this prison using duty and sacrifice, and now that she has the chance to be free from it, she takes full advantage, even when it inadvertently causes her grandson's death. Even with that guilt and anger, she is addicted to this disgusting freedom. What looks to be the start of her lie slowly unraveling as she realizes that she's no different than Rhaenyra, as she realizes she's directed her anger at her best friend just for having what she couldn't, as she realizes that there never really was any justification for that cage the men around put her in. Will she hate her dad? Will she hate herself? Will she feel guilt over the war and death and child debt she's helped cause with that justification? I'm not sure, but this is a good track to put her on, and this all works. Well, it would work, it would be a good track, if Alicent actually had something to be guilty about, something to regret, because with the way it's written, with that choice at the end of season 1, she just thought she was fulfilling Viserys' final wish. She wasn't part of any plan to usurp Rhaenyra until Viserys made that wish. She is morally justified because she never wanted this, supposedly, at the very end, even though she clearly did the entire show. But, it's been 2 episodes. Maybe they'll establish a strong, non-misunderstanding based motivation for Alicent in season 2. Honestly, maybe I can just pretend that scene never happened, and this is what Alicent wanted.
Listen, your father changed his mind.
So you say.
Changed his mind, Rhaenyra. He changed his mind.
But no. Now we have to re-emphasize it. We have to see Alicent be shocked that it wasn't about her Aegon. Like, that flips her whole world upside down. Making this a point of emphasis to frame the story as if she only went along with usurping the throne because of Viserys' wish. And now that she knows she was wrong, they will frame Alicent as being trapped in a cage by these men with no effect on the war at all, because she's a woman. But we've seen that. She's been in that cage her whole life. How much stronger of a story it could have been if Alicent had been in that cage so long, she sees that cage as her home. That she justifies that cage, that she's changed by that cage, slowly becoming more and more and more of an active participant in a war that is killing her and her best friend's family. Especially when this change had been built up. Why ruin this development? Instead, in that attempt to have us sympathize with her, in that attempt to beat us over the head with themes of patriarchy, House of the Dragon can't have Alicent choose a side, can't have her actively participate in that side. To sum it up in one simple question, I would have to say, what does Alicent want?